What's up, guys? This is Rob, and I'm the vet of the group.
Hey, this is Murph. I'm the...
What's up, guys? It's Shay. Welcome to the Waiting Table Podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss, with, of course, and today's no exception, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob, this is Murph, we got Shay, and we got you guys, so grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and take a seat at the table. Shay, let's get some countdown action going, some 3, 2, 1, if you will. So in 3 words, how are you feeling about tonight's episode?
So I'm going to switch it up on you guys. You know, I always have to keep you on your feet, right? On your toes. My 3 words are in the kitchen, because I am literally in my kitchen. I'm having some, right? That works. I'm having our flooring done upstairs. And so I'm in the kitchen. That's a new feeling that I have just designated. So I think it counts.
Awesome. I'm going to take the 2 spot from you, Murph. Sorry. And I'm going to say triggered, but in a good way. And you'll see why when we hear about our guest. And honored, because damn, it's an honor to have such an amazing member of our community join us at the table. So Murph, you get the final word. What's it going to be?
Absolutely. And I'm going to steal a word from my 6-year-old daughter. I'm going to say excited.
Excited.
I am so excited to have our next guest on the show. He really doesn't need an introduction. But for those of you, maybe the 2 of you that have been living off the grid for the past few years, I'd like to introduce you all to the man, the myth, the legend, Dusty, aka Dusty Lost 300 pounds.
Hi.
What's up, Dusty?
What's up, Dusty?
Hey.
This is awesome. Can I just say I am just like blown away. I'm really excited, kind of nervous, to be honest with you. It's this is so cool. The intro and the whole setup and like all of you here. This is awesome.
I'm glad you weren't on last week because the intro was a lot rougher. I was pretty proud of us this week, though. Good job, guys.
Yeah, we got it. We pulled it together.
Thoroughly impressed.
It's my fault.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor, and I appreciate all of you and connecting this week, especially on Instagram. But excited to be here. Thanks for having me, and can't wait.
Well, the pleasure is definitely all ours. And again, for those who have never heard of Dusty before, I know that's crazy. Give us, if you could, just a couple minutes, a little background on Dusty, your journey. How long have you been post-op, wife, kids, things like that? Just real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Dusty. So I had the gastric bypass back in 2016. As far as how long I've been struggling with weights, I was born 11 pounds. And so Mother's Day is always a special day for my mom because of being an 11-pound baby. But I've struggled with weight my entire life, from the schoolyard to high school, plenty of times along the way of weight being the focal point of who I was. And so been struggling with my weight my entire life. Got to a point where I got up to 534 pounds, and I had a lot of ailing issues where my doctor said just pretty plainly, I wouldn't be surprised if you weren't here in 6 months. And so I had the gastric bypass in July of 2016. I am almost 7 years out from my initial surgery. As far as life is concerned, I am married, been married for over 10 years. We have a little girl named Presley, and we have a second baby on the way, due in March. Part of my weight loss journey is rooted in the fact that my wife and I both couldn't have kids. And it was a struggle for us. My wife struggled with PCOS, and herself had the gastric bypass 2 years after I had mine. And with her weight loss and my weight loss, 7 years into trying, we had our first baby girl in December of 2020, a pandemic baby. And so she had just turned 2 years old, and we were welcoming baby number 2. And I started sharing my journey about 2.5 years into my journey on Instagram. So I've been on there for about, I'd say 4.5 years. To be honest, kind of waited to share my journey because I didn't know if I was going to do it, to be honest. I didn't know if I was going to make it. So been sharing for about 4.5 years, and it has been It has been fun. It is. I'll just say that fun's probably not the best word to choose, but I would say it's been a mountaintop and a valley low all mixed into these past 7 years. And so that is me. And I think I covered everything.
Gosh,
Amazing.
congratulations on your
Thank you,
kiddos.
thank
I
you.
relate to that so much because I got my I got the gastric sleeve done in March of last year. So I'm almost to my 1 year mark. And that was a big reason, and mainly the reason why I decided to go for it was because my husband and I had been trying to have kiddos for a long time. So it's cool to hear that as a success. And here you guys are with baby number 2 on the way. That's so cool.
Not ready in any way, but baby
Never
number
are,
2
man.
on
Never
the way.
are.
One day
Never ready. Never ready.
Nope.
Just
Nope. Ask
here
Murph.
they come.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, had I met Shay a couple years ago, sooner, we would have given her one of our 7. But
Hey, it's not too late. I don't have any
Yeah,
yet.
you can-
I'll take one.
yeah, I'll give you a couple.
You can have one of mine, but I get to choose which one.
There you go.
Depending on the day and how they are.
I'm going to jump in and ask a question because that was, your story is so amazing. And, definitely Shay had mentioned that she can relate with some of your stories and where you've come from. I think Murph can also relate. And so one of your posts recently was about purpose and your purpose in having the gastric bypass, making these changes for yourself in your lifestyle. You had mentioned doing it for your nephew back then, but now doing it for your child. How has that purpose changed at all? Or, with your ability to reach out to so many people through Instagram and different ventures, has that changed your purpose at all or added to that?
Yeah, my purpose, I feel, has evolved over time. Initially seeing videos of myself at 500 pounds, I remember very vividly, especially with my nephew, rolling on the ground back and forth. And I knew I couldn't be on my knees because my knees would hurt, so I wouldn't be able to do that, or I wouldn't be able to crouch down or do much. And I have a video that I'm just, the most I could do was fly my hand around to try to be somewhat entertaining for my nephew, and that just wasn't something that was going to be of any value to our future kids. So the hope was, we want to have kids, but I'm not going to be able to do much. And so the purpose in being able to be active and that post about purpose was the fact that my daughter's like, hey, come play with me, and I would be so limited at 500 pounds to not be able to do that. And I think rolled into that, especially with sharing on social media, is the purpose of connecting with other individuals that were where I was and that are currently still where I am. I'm very adamant that I haven't overcome, like it's not a singular moment of I've overcome it, but I'm continuing to overcome, and I'm overcoming 30 years of processing obesity and having that self-perception. And so purpose has really molded itself, especially on social media, to be a voice to anyone that potentially may relate with my journey in any way, that may help and spark them in any way. The messages that a lot of you probably see as well is individuals reaching out in this desperate moment of like, I don't like where I am right now and I need to do something right now, and being able to connect and build a bridge of, you probably won't be able to do anything right now and see results, but you can start something now that can lead to something really, really great. And I think my purpose probably about 2 or 3 years ago got a little bit deeper because I got a pretty uncomfortable message, and it was from a wife reaching out on behalf of her husband, and the husband I actually had been messaging back and forth, just giving tips, tricks, and everything that I can. And she messaged me and just said, I see your messages to my husband and I appreciate that. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, because of the struggles that he was having with obesity. He's no longer with us. And so that was kind of a pivotal moment of, I remember the message with him, and did I know that this was going to be the message that might potentially help or not help? I didn't know that at all, but the fact that she reached out like that and I had such a connection to potentially help someone, it almost drove that purpose in a little bit more, that there might be something that I post that may connect with just one person, and it may just be disregarded, and the algorithm on Instagram might ignore everything else. But that potential one person that might see something and relate with where I was, is incredibly motivating because it's dark. It's real. Just full transparency. It's very dark at 500 pounds when you feel like you're drowning and suffocating in your weights, and that there is no immediate solution, that you're going to have to climb this mountain, and it's just overwhelming. So, purpose has come in many forms. My kids now, but also, the individuals that I'm able to connect with in this community. And it's given me a lot of push to continue sharing, even though sometimes I share the same photos and it's the same stuff.
Okay,
Someone out there may see it that has never seen it before. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask one more
absolutely.
question because, as I said, I'm triggered in a good way to ask all these things. And then I'll shut up because I know everyone else has a lot of stuff too. But this goes very much with what you had mentioned in regards to your posts, right? Like you have over 1,600 posts. You have over 88,000 followers on IG. I know for me, and my numbers are not anywhere near that, but I know for me, there is a specific post that I felt I was connecting to people. There was one specific
Yeah.
thing that really, when I watch it, I was like, this is the one that people can relate to. And, out of these 1,600 posts, and you had mentioned some of the things that you've posted, is there one that really sticks out to you as the one that had that impact? Because you've had such a big impact on so many people, right?
there's one, and there's a song that has always kind of just, when I hear it in the gym and it's on my playlist, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm shutting everything else out, and I'm like, my jump rope skipping gets a little bit faster. I get a little bit more passionate. And there's a song by NF, and it's called "Remember This," and it's a song that talks about how I'm no longer the old me, and that's I'm going to remember the things of my past, but I'm no longer going to let that trap me in the past, and that I'm going to push forward. So it's a post to where it encapsulates probably 4 or 5 moments in my journey where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of this, but I just got to keep going. And it's a post that kind of ends with the fact that I am just like you. And I felt like that was the most connecting post for me, because I don't ever want to have the facade that I am a detached, distant person that doesn't relate with anybody. I am just like you. You are just like me. Just because I've come a certain way of losing a certain amount of weight doesn't mean that I've arrived at a better position. I've just put myself in a position to where I know a little bit more about this journey. And so me being able to share is saying, hey, I struggled with it. I'm not saying it as, oh, well, I've read about this and I've heard that this can help you. No, this is what I struggled with. This is the darkness that I talk about there. And it's something I continually battle through. And so that post for me, where the song is just kind of in there and it talks about, I'm just like you, you're just like me. That's probably my favorite post, because it kind of levels everything. Like, hey, you might see the blue check mark, you might see the 1,600 to 88,000 followers. All of that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I'm just like you, and if I can do it, you can do it. I absolutely believe that. And there's no bridging that only certain. No, you can absolutely do it. It's rooted in the mental side of things, and in really taking care of that mental approach of your journey, rather than just a exercise or a diet program.
That deserves it, guys.
Oh,
He did it.
Yes.
Earned it.
Oh.
so
Oh.
Dusty,
This is Ralph's first heart. This is his
This is a
first
big
heart,
deal.
Dusty. Oh
gotta-
man!
look.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. Wow,
I'm gonna cheers
I'm
to
like,
that.
I'm shocked.
Damn, no, I know.
Give you
I know.
a little context, Dusty. This has kind of become Murph and I. We've been doing this, and Rob, every time he just hasn't been able to. But
He
man,
goes to
that
the
was
thumbs
pretty.
down.
Yeah, can't.
Yeah,
they're not
But,
trained to do that, and they go this way. Unfortunately, I'm old. I'm
Wow.
an old guy. I can't do that. But no, that earned it. That was awesome. No, I appreciate that.
So,
That's
well,
so
and
good.
kind of
To
related.
tag on. Oh,
You go
Can
for
I-
it, Murph.
if
Go
you don't
for it.
mind, because it's so great, Dusty, that you mentioned that video and that song, because I know exactly which one it was. Because I want to say that was one of the first videos I saw of yours, and I connected with that, and because I actually a long time ago shared a stage with NF, and I know Nate, and I remember hearing this song and you doing the video, and it was just like, oh man, this dude's cool. Like NF, you know, like I had that connection because of that song, and then it led me to following you and you more closely, and
Awesome.
you then turned into a huge inspiration for me. So talking about that one, and I understand the importance of that one. That's why I started my Instagram page, was just for the one person that I could try to reach. You know, if anybody hears my story and it helps one person, I'll be satisfied. I'll be over the moon excited. But that song, man, I know exactly what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
really
Well,
cool.
shout out to Nate. Thanks for connecting, because for me it's a two-way street as far as seeing each one of your journeys. What's really cool is that I've been able to connect this week, especially with all three of you, on your particular journeys, and I didn't know the details on some of the journeys as well as what I looked into this week. And so that's one thing that I've really learned to appreciate is the journey that I'm on. There are so many that are on that journey as well, and I can say something a certain way and someone can say the exact same words, but it mean more coming from somebody else. And so that's where Murph, looking at your journey, Rob and Shay, looking at your journeys, and the fact that we all have a different dynamic. We all have a different, like, something is going, like, I've got a baby on the way. Someone may not have a baby on the way and may not relate. Someone lives here, or whatever the case is. Because we have so many different dynamics, what I love about this is that we come from so many different backgrounds, but we're in a position to literally change someone's life. And that's, I'll never lose sight of that. And that'll never be something that won't strike me, is that, like, someone across the world, like someone in the UK, can randomly come across this social media profile and all of a sudden inspire them to get up the next day and find a way to work out. It's just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And there's room and
Absolutely.
space for all of it. I think that's the biggest myth that I hear from people, is like, oh, well, there's tons of other people that have like a really similar story. Like, I don't know why my sharing my story would matter, but you said it exactly right, Dusty. It's like sometimes certain things resonates with different people depending on who says it or what they're saying, how they're saying it. And one of the questions I was going to ask you, Dusty, because you have been in this creator world this is kind of like the Wild West we're in still, but you were kind of like even before that. And so I'm curious, because I've talked to some other creators this week, even, where they just kind of get to a point where they feel burned out, like all the connections in their lives in regards to social media are just for the purpose of trying to get something out of them. Like, it's always just like them kind of feeling, I think, taken advantage of at times. I'm curious, like, what your experience is with that. And like, you still seem very passionate and excited about what you're doing. How do you maintain that kind of like as you've gotten bigger and as people are probably trying to get more out of you in that sense?
Yeah, the balance, I would say, of what I've tried to learn with food, exercise, and my entire approach to the health journey is honestly kind of a parallel to the journey on Instagram and sharing. You kind of notice things now to where certain emails from certain companies or certain messages, I'm very adamant on responding to every message that I get. It sometimes may take a little bit, but I'm pretty good at discerning kind of how the message is going to go. I've had the inappropriate messages. I've had folks send me pictures, like the request box it's blurred. I'm like, there's a risk there, so I'll check out the profile, look at it, and there's honestly some good photos that are sent of before and afters. Hey, you were a great inspiration, but then also the other side of it comes. So there is definitely a balance in regards to how I approach social media, from the scope of what I put out there is trying to motivate, inspire, and try to help. But in that process, I think someone looks at the blue check mark or looks at the amount of followers and says, hey, maybe I can get myself in there to try to promote. And I am all about sharing the beneficial side of this journey. So if what you represent, what you're about, is going to benefit and help somebody, I'm all about that. But if it's just for, say, self-promotion, that's where I'm weary, because I'll have pages, hey, can you give me a shout out? I'm really looking to gain followers. And the page is, mind you, their page, but it's just selfies. It's just like 15 different angles of their front face on like 15 different posts. So it's not that I am like the ultimate that provides value, but there are pages out there that will share a different scope on their journey and how their journey will help. And so I oftentimes will try to connect with those, because again, I could say something a certain way, nobody could relate, but then Rob could say the exact same thing, and all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, well, yeah, I can do this, or I can do that. So I'm very adamant about that, and I am of the person that if it's not something I'm realistically going to use or be a part of, you will rarely see anything that you see on my link bio and stuff like that is something I have actively in the house, something I actively use. But there are things in emails that it is hilarious. Like, hey, we'd love for you to be a pasta sponsor. I'm like, I don't have it's not like I'm trying to like demonize pasta, but I don't have too much pasta. So how awkward is that going to be? Hi, would you like to try some pasta?
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my before and after because of pasta. I'm very leery, because what changed that a lot or really solidified that is I've got a chance to meet individuals that I've found on social media face to face. Like I've been at a store and like, hey, are you Dusty? I was like, yeah. Like, oh, I love your Instagram. And then folks at the gym. And so just imagine me like out there, like, hey, find a way and do this and do that. And all of a sudden, like, I am doing the complete opposite in my real life. I am absolutely paranoid that someone's just going to randomly show up and say, like, aren't you all about the health and wellness? Like, what? I get paranoid of that. So I am very much, if I talk about it, I've got to be about it. It's got to be something that I'm connected with. So it is a wild, wild west in the content creation realm. And I will not lie, burnout is very real. It is very much, it's here and it hasn't left. But I've just got, I take a break for 3 or 4 days, and then someone sends me a message or someone comments something, and it's all of a sudden like, I didn't know this was going to help. I didn't know that post was going to do any. Honestly, that post didn't get any traction. The algorithm absolutely hated this video, but one person commented and said, wow, I didn't think of it that way. Thank you. And all of a sudden at that moment, it's kind of like, here we go again. We're posting more. And so burnout's very real. And any tips I would say is as much as you're balancing the health journey with your food, exercise, all that good stuff, you have to find a balance with social media, because it is a wild, wild west, and you will get burned out very quickly if you're just trying to get the views or if you're just doing it for the gram, it's easily to get burned out. So
yeah. So how do you, looking at your Instagram page, I don't want to say every other video, but it just seems like, you've got a video about weight loss and fitness and recipes or diet. And then you've got a video about cleaning up your kids' toys, which I laughed out loud at because it's the truth. The 5,000, from Rent, the song from Rent. And that cracked me up. But like, how do you, because I feel like I'm in a place where like, I don't want my identity to be my weight loss surgery. I want to help people. Yeah, I want to inspire. I want to be there for people, but I also want to have fun with it without screwing up their algorithm or without acting like, it never happened, or, you know what I mean? How do you go about doing that? I feel like that's where I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, see, you're asking the right questions. Can I just just full transparency, you're asking the really good questions, because I'm in the middle of exactly what you're asking. I have been a weight loss motivation page, and I share the before and afters, but I get a lot of the messages, we get it, you lost weight, and those became very prominent. And so with sharing my journey, I wanted to find a way to be relatable. And I noticed that I was sharing so many before and afters that I was getting a lot of the consistent messages of inspiration, but we get it. Inspiration, but we get it. And so I started posting some more workout videos, and they were they were useful, but as far as if I were to take the raw numbers, it wasn't seen by that many people. And so for me, it's okay, what's going to have an impact to where folks are going to see it. And so what really kind of set things off and changed things is about 6 to 7 months ago. I decided, let me randomly post something that is not related to weight loss, but I thought it was funny, and let me post it. And I used to pin this video, and due to a recent kind of change of mindset, I unpinned the video. And it was essentially, my wife has told me all week that she has plans with her sister. She's told me 6 or 7 times. It is now the day before the event, and I'm getting ready to ask her, what are we doing tomorrow? Just something like that was very relatable. But what happened is that post hit some sort of algorithm to where it became, in 2022, at the time that it was posted, it became the 7th or 8th most viewed reel across all of Instagram. Wow. So there was 50 million views on that. There was 1 million likes, and all of a sudden it's like, I've been posting before and afters, workouts, weight loss inspiration. I post one video having nothing to do with weight loss, and yet that's the most popular video. And so, to be honest, I was a little bothered. I was like, I have been blood, sweat, and tears in trying to help motivate and inspire and put something out there that is relatable, yet Instagram will choose to put the video that has nothing to do with my page on the algorithm to get the views. And I started seeing, like, what's her name? Portia from Real Housewives commented on the video. It started being featured different places. I'm like, what in the world? Like, don't you see my tagline? Dusty lost 300 pounds. This is a weight loss page. Why are you picking up this video? And so for me, to be honest, I was like, well, if that's getting views, then let me intermix some of those items so that someone potentially sees that, comes to my page, and maybe potentially gets inspired. So that is something I'm currently wrestling with. Full transparency, as of even this week, it's something that I wrestle with every single time I post, because my tagline is Dusty lost 300 pounds. Hey, maybe I can change it to just Dusty, and I can do a mixture of everything. But other articles or other references to my page are with this link and tagline, Dusty lost 300 pounds. And so that is very much an identity problem that I'm having. Is there are things that I would like to post that are funny, that get views, but my page is weight loss inspiration and motivation. And I guess the last thing I'll mention on it is I purposely took about a month and said, okay, I'm going to post unrelatable weight loss stuff that's just related to being funny, spouse humor and toddler humor. And then I'm going to post mental health videos, what truly helped me get over the hump. And for some reason, my least viewed videos were the ones on mental health. And that is the foundation of this journey. Like the mental health is where it starts, everything else follows. And the stuff that has nothing to do with Dusty lost 300 pounds, has everything to do with spousal humor, got the most views. And so that's where I was like, well, what's the point? Like, why take the time to even share if Instagram's not even picking up the purpose of my page? And so I've wrestled with, creating another page just for relatable content. I call it relatable. And I've kind of settled in now, as most recent with that like toddler post, that I'm going to be a majority of a weight loss page and share what I can. And I'll intermix items that are relatable, so that I could potentially pitch, hey, I'm just like you. Yeah. I'm relatable. But that is an active frustration of mine on what Instagram deems, because it's the algorithm that they, what they deem important. And there's one post in particular, I said, this right here is just such a perfectly baked cake of how my mental health switched and what the real help and trigger was. And it was like the least viewed video of 2022. I was like, it would help so much, but so that's active. And the struggle of identity and the page, man, Wild West. Shay, what did you say? Wild West. Yeah, that's the Wild West right there.
And you know what, boys? I think I have the answer. Maybe not the full answer, but as you're talking, Dusty, as Murph is talking, as Rob is talking, the inspiration for me, at least, and I don't think I'm alone in this. The inspiration that I see in each of you doesn't come from the fact that you've lost weight. It's because of who you guys are as people. And that's like what I enjoy seeing. And so, obviously for each of us, we all have this shared experience of weight loss surgery. So that's something that we can all kind of connect with and resonate with. But I just get so much inspiration like from you guys as people. And that's something I was talking with another creator this week about, where it's so easy to kind of get wrapped up in having different things be part of our identity. But the funniest part about it is people just want to connect. They just want to know that you know, like some of my most popular videos are me and my husband going to Costco. Like that's probably the video I spent the least amount of time on editing and doing. But it's like people love that. People are inspired by people, not by what they do or don't do. And so like, I don't know. I just, as you were saying that, it's like, no, like that's great that, we've all lost weight and all of that. But like, Dusty, you're an inspiration because you're Dusty. Like you're a cool dude. And
Absolutely.
so I don't know, just an encouragement.
I
in
like
that way
this
that,
podcast.
Yeah.
Can I say that? This is nice. This is cool stuff. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
yeah, it's like you guys are cool people. Like, and so, whether people connect on the weight loss stuff or the kids stuff or whatever, like, I just want to get to know who Dusty is, get to know Rob, get to know Murph. Like, I just want to know who you guys are as people because you're pretty awesome. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, thank you, Shay. Same to you. I mean, we all are connected through bariatric surgery or through our past hurts or issues that we had growing up, unhealthy eating, whatever the case may be. But now we're here, and it's really cool that we can just be awesome people together and just hang out. And we've got stories now. We've got scars to show. We've got, passions and things to share, and our weight isn't getting in the way anymore. And so I guess it's safe to say we all have something different to bring to the table.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing I actually told Murph this before, and I think this may ring true to you, Dusty, as well. I was talking to Murph about, sort of what we bring to this podcast. And, I tend to do a lot of the technical stuff in regards to editing and all this stuff and all the technology stuff that I'm not very good at, but, someone has to do it. And I was telling Murph, I'm just like, one of the big reasons I think that people are drawn so much to you is because of you. It's because I love watching your stories, Murph, and I love learning about your family. I love seeing your trips with your family. I love seeing you do all those different things because, yes, you're a cool person, but the other part is, as someone going through this weight loss journey, I like to see what I can do. I like to see, and this is a mindset thing too. It's, I was big on visualization and manifesting that image, and you're helping with providing that. So, showing a picture of you playing with your kids, helping clean up your kids' toys. You can attest to this. I know me and Murph can as well. Yeah. I was at 380 pounds. How good was I at cleaning up my kids' toys at 380 pounds, right? I was gassed. Yeah. I wasn't able to bend down. I wasn't able to do that.
It's relatable, and it's not something that you could have done, 7-8 years ago, but you can do it now, and it's relatable. People love it. People eat it up. And because it's awesome, it's fun, it's cool, it's funny. The Rent song playing and the things that we could do, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so, the relatability, I think, is kind of content creation wise. That's the key, relatability, right. And where folks like the one today about that moment when the weight loss stall breaks. Like Will Smith's reaction, okay, that's me multiple times. Like I've weighed myself 6 days in a row and it hasn't moved, and then all of a sudden something moves. It's like, did I just get a loan on a house? I mean, what kind of breakthrough am I having here? So relatable is key, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I have another question, and I'm obviously very, very, very biased towards these types of videos of yours. I know you're a certified fitness specialist. I know you certainly emphasize physical activity in your posts. And physical activity has been a huge part of my journey and me moving forward. How has being active played a part in not just your transformation to lose the 300 pounds, but in your life afterwards? Because I feel like it is a very important part for you.
Yeah, so exercise was something to where I knew that I had to get into it, and it was something that had to connect itself with my bariatric journey. And when I took the step of taking or having bariatric surgery, I knew, and I remember mentioning to my wife right before the surgery, I said, if I go through with this, I'm going to do this, and I'm this is it, because I remember trying to actually leave. They had just put the gown on me. They had just began to wipe everything down and get me ready for surgery. I said, honey, what if I could just try one more time? And she was like, you've tried. I tried and tried again. Do you really think that it's going to work, or you're going to be able to? And I ended up going through with the surgery, and I told her, I said, if I do this, I'm going to do this. And so when I started my exercise portion, I said, I don't want to overwhelm myself, because I've done that before. So I just started walking, and that's all I did for the first 4 to 5 months. That's it. And when I started getting to the gym, I started going for 2 days, and I took 2 days off. And it was like, oh, before I would go 6 days for 3 hours a day. And I remember being at one gym, I was there for 4 hours many times. I had a small part-time job. I made enough money to get a membership there, and I spent like 4 hours there just doing all that I can. And so because I wanted to do it right, I had to take a calculated step with fitness. And what that evolved into is eventually getting into the gym, starting to build different workouts. But for me, the gym came into play right around the time where the rubber met the road in regards to my mental health and the true journey that I'm on. Like, oh, the surgery didn't do anything about my mental health, and how I, as a child, rooted and coped with food during stressful situations. Oh, the surgery doesn't do anything about that. Like, it really is just a tool. And so for me, right around that time where emotions were at its peak, where I am mourning food, like I'm sitting there at 7 p.m. knowing that I can't eat anymore, and I'm mourning. I'm getting emotional. I remember a couple times running into the other room and crying simply because of food and because I couldn't eat anymore. And all of a sudden coming to terms with, like, part of me is dying. Part of me that I've loved and lived in for so long, and that just dopamine release of food, that part of me has to die. And so the gym and physical exercise kind of came right in there and became an anchor for me, became something to where I go to the gym, yes, for physical exercise to burn calories and all that, but it became a solace. It became a place where I can put my hoodie on, I can put my headphones in, I can put the music on, not listen to anything else, and just simply disappear for about an hour and a half and just work things out mentally. And I think for me, what physical exercise really did for me is the difficult exercises, the different things that I was able to do now. I almost visualize that if I can get through this hardship here, then I can get through the hardship out there. And it almost became very parallel, that the physical exercise and me pushing myself to places that I didn't think I could go, I knew that I could do that outside of the gym. So exercise for me has been pivotal for any kind of anchoring. When I'm stressed out, I'm a stress eater. That's what led for me to get to my top weight, is I coped and isolated myself into food when everything around me was chaotic and something I couldn't change. I just dove into food. Well, now for me, it's serving myself in a better way rather than sabotaging myself. And that is going to the gym. You know, just recently in the past, I'd say 2 months, some of the things that we were getting in regards to baby number 2 weren't the most stress-free, and it wasn't the most stress-free news. It was very stressful, and that's nothing I've ever processed before. I can do something about how I feel, but all of a sudden, if something's going on with baby number 2 and I can't do anything, that's a stress that, like, it's like a new level unlocked, a new level of stress unlocked. I'm like, hold on, I did not give anyone the key to unlock this stress, but it's all of a sudden now I'm stressed out. I'm holding on to something that I just know that food's going to make me feel better. And so I would very much use the gym and physical exercise to push myself, to exert myself, to say, I can get through all of this if I can get through what's in front of me. And so, part of my pursuing of running recently and trying to get faster is because that completely wipes me out. Running a half marathon taxes every bone, muscle in my body, but when I'm finished with it, I'm like, I didn't think I could do this, and I did. I don't think I can get through this chaos in my life, but I'm going to have to. And so that's where physical exercises really became an anchor for me, a solace. It's if I don't go to the gym, my wife can tell when I don't go to the gym. Did you go to the gym today? No, I woke up late. Okay, I can tell. Oh, okay. Do you need to go work out real quick? Do you need to go for 30 minutes for a run real quick? Because you're
dad need a timeout. Dad needs a timeout.
Yeah, dad timeouts are very real. My wife is very in sync with the lack of gym days for me. But for me, on 30 years of struggling with obesity, I have found something that has been very helpful in me rooting all the negative mental health stuff that kind of sabotaged me before.
It's like being hangry, but you need to go to the gym, like Jangry.
Jim angry. Jim angry.
Jim angry.
Jim.
Jim's angry.
Jim's angry.
Hey, speaking about your wife, and this is kind of a question to all of you guys if you want, but I know, I'm still within my first year of surgery, and this has been like a huge, intense growth year for myself personally, but that's transferred, to my relationship dynamic. Today is actually me and Dylan's 11th anniversary of being together. So kind of fun. So we've been together a while. Thank you.
Congratulations, 11.
And it's interesting though, but even though we've known each other for that, whoa.
That's some sound effects there.
That was good, Rob. That was good.
Sorry.
I like it.
You kind of scared me. I forgot we had those.
I got scared.
I know, I did too. I was like,
I'm looking around like, who's it?
You're in your basement and just someone hiding behind the cabinet.
It was the furnace last week. It was the whoa this week.
It was.
But anyway, this was the first year though where I feel like we've really been learning who we are as individual people, and then therefore learning who we are together. And so I'm curious, again, this is open to all of you guys, but how has that relationship dynamic been with your partner, if you feel okay talking about that, or just any insight for those that are maybe starting on the journey? I just wasn't expecting that to be a thing like that. Oh man, there's going to be tough conversations or different conversations, and I'm going to feel differently about things. So just kind of a general open question to all of you guys on relational dynamics and how that changed with your partner.
Tag Dusty, you're it.
I don't know if you all read like a book on how to ask the right questions and the perfect. I mean, we're on a roll because that's a good one, and that's something that I wasn't expecting. But the dynamic of I'm losing weight, and I'm actively losing weight, and my wife, who has struggled with PCOS for a long time, is something that she has struggled with as well. And so getting to a point of me getting into my journey about 2 years, and my wife continuing to struggle, and then her herself making that decision for gastric bypass 2 years into my journey, that dynamic very much changes, because there is the thought, if you get to a particular weight, are you going to lose interest in me? You're going to change. The perception of yourself is going to change. And so I'm very huge on communication. One grateful thing that I've been able to do is with that certification, be able to start one-on-one coaching. And there's a couple of bariatric patients that I've connected with, and I said, just a heads up that your relationship is going to change, and the dynamic and how you communicate it's all there. So if you know that ahead of time, you can prepare for it because it's coming. And that's one thing that my wife and I have been very transparent with, in that she struggled, I struggled. My wife, she lost, I think, 110 pounds in the first year. And then right at the year mark, that's when she got pregnant. And so for her, it's, she got down to a certain weight, and, oh, are you more attracted to me? And I said, no, like whatever weight you started with, wherever you are now, it's completely the same. But also with myself, like loose skin, like I've got 7 to 10 pounds of loose skin. Like when I go for a run, there's clear clapping going on. It sounds like there's an audience cheering me on, so that's probably why I run the way I do, because there's a constant applause as I go. But with the loose skin, yeah, exactly. It's the loose skin was very much a insecurity. Like, I've got hanging skin, like this. So very much in regards to relationship, things can change. I connected with some bariatric communities on Facebook where there has been a loss of interest. Someone has had interest in someone, but because they lost weight, a lack of interest was there. And so the only thing that I would say is communication up front of what's coming is probably the best thing that would serve the relationship and help. If we didn't communicate, and this is something that she was feeling, an insecurity, my insecurity, and we didn't say anything until it all boiled over during a moment, we'd have a very, very difficult time, especially with getting pregnant in the first year, me losing and having the extra skin. Being able to have that kind of bond of communication has really helped. And it's still now, because when my wife got pregnant, she put on weight because of the pregnancy. And so as soon as we had the baby, she went right back to the bariatric plan. Well, she had a fainting spell while we went and walked our daughter. So in the middle of a public street, she collapsed. And so we went to the doctor, talked to the doctor about it, and it was because she went so regimented on her plan that she didn't have enough. And so all of a sudden now, what she's known to be successful, the doctor's saying, you can't do that. Well, that's all I know. And so she had to develop a new way, and it was very, very difficult. And so one thing that we're looking forward to with baby number 2 coming is that our conversations just this week is like, honey, we're no longer in a position where we're trying. So, loose skin surgery is a possibility for both of us. You not having to concern yourself with really much else, but putting your health as a priority. And that's one thing that we've had to communicate is she's put on weight because of pregnancy. Is there something there that makes me unattracted to her for that? And I'm of the mindset that you are a woman that is giving birth to my children. You are the connection to a legacy of our family. Like I respect that and honor that so much. And the stuff that my wife has had to go through, just pregnant moms in general, like a watermelon out, I mean, it's similar in pain to me when I get a cold, but besides that, just kidding.
You should be like, Dusty, you should be the salesperson for like having kids. Like the way you just sold that right now, that was pretty impressive.
So
like
it's
cold, but not.
What was that? What was that button that you hit? What was that? Okay, I didn't hear it. That's hilarious.
So things are going to change, and as long as you know that things are going to change and you communicate that with your spouse, I think you're going to position yourself better off to think, oh no, we're going to be fine. I'm going to love them no matter what. You might, but they're going to change. How I perceive myself, how I see myself is very different. I made decisions at 500 pounds out of insecurity, that if I'm no longer insecure in that area at 220 pounds, I wouldn't make that same decision. So I'm a completely different person. So that's been really, really huge with relationships for sure.
It's such a drastic change, I think, is the issue. And that being one of the examples why, my wife and I have been together for 8 years, and people change. It's inevitable. Everybody changes, and people get to places in their marriage where, they have problems, or they fall in and out of, feelings, or whatever the case may be. My wife's in nursing school, and has been for the past couple of years. So we haven't really spoken at all about a lot of these things. We have, but it's like she's just so busy doing her thing, and I'm over here so busy doing my thing. And we do get together, and it's been good conversations, and it's been positive, and we're still doing good. And once in a while we say to each other, hey, we doing okay? And we talk, we go out on dates once in a while. But we're so busy all the time. And we've talked about how, I don't know the statistics on it, but marriages, where bariatric surgery is involved, there's a certain statistic that that marriage will end. I don't know how high that of a percentage that is. Also, marriages of people who have been married before and have been divorced, that statistic elevates. And Elise and I have both been married previously, so we had the conversation of, hey, the odds are against us. Oh, and then nursing school ends marriages. There is a statistic on that as well. So we've got 3 strikes against us as far as statistically, we shouldn't technically be together still, but we are, and we check in once in a while. We go on dates as much as we can. Homeschooling 7 kids and being in nursing school and having bariatric surgery, coming out of COVID, like all these things, but it can be done. And you have to have that open line of communication. You have to be able to ask some tough questions and really have some serious conversations. Yeah. And be as transparent as you possibly can, because it can be done. I'm not saying our marriage is perfect. We struggle on the daily, but we're getting through. We're getting by.
She's so supportive.
And she's so supportive.
Elise,
Dusty,
Elise,
Dusty has no idea how supportive
Next
my wife is.
support.
She's usually on here to make fun of me for like mispronouncing something or something silly. She'll be quiet the whole chat, and then she'll come on and say, to make fun of me. She's so supportive. No, but she really is supportive, and I try to support her as much as I can. And we're just, like I said, we're kind of off both, doing our own thing. And when she's done with nursing school at the end of this year, she'll be an RN, and we'll come back together. And I think we'll take a big sigh of relief. So, yeah.
But I think you brought up some really good points, both of you guys. So actually, the stat is more than double. Like if adults get bariatric surgery, they're more than double as likely to get divorced. So the stat is actually, I think it was like 3%, and it was like 6.5 or 7%. Will lead in divorce. So it is definitely a stat. A lot of the Facebook groups that I'm part of in Ontario and Canada, that's definitely something that I've seen quite a bit. But like both of you had said, you're right. I think it's about communication. And I think for me, what it was about was, yes, this was a huge journey for me. But most importantly, it was a huge journey for us. So where
absolutely
did she fit within all of this? Well, she fit everywhere, right? Now, like, I talk to her a lot, and, she'll tell me certain things, and I'll say, but, at the end of the day, there was 10 years where I couldn't do crap, right? We would have a snowstorm, and you'd say, because I had 4 herniated discs. I couldn't shovel. I couldn't do anything. And she would be like, I got it. Don't worry. I'll do this. Don't worry. And, that's just one chapter of our story. And yes, I've lost this weight. Yes, I am a lot more capable. And now it's my turn to be able to do what I need to do. And, it also allowed my journey to inspire her health journey, right? She was never big, but she had learned this newfound love for weight training ever since. So now she's a beast in regards to lifting, and she's super active, and she's actually paying attention. In the Asian culture, it's very normal to sort of like sweep it under the rug, right? Oh, I have this. Oh, I'm just going to ignore it. It'll be fine. And, that's, I think, a big reason why I got as bad as I did. We don't allow that in our household anymore because of the conversations and the understanding of why health is so important, how we raise our kids to understand. Both my parents died very young. I was severely obese. My brother is diabetic. There's a reason why we all have these comorbidities and we all have these challenges. And how do we turn that around to educate our kids? And that's something that we've decided to do together. So we're very honest with them about the importance of nutrition, and what we eat is what they eat. And yeah, I just think that you're right. Communication is a big thing, but it's how is my journey our journey? How
Yeah,
are we doing it
that's
together? Right?
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And
I
the
like that.
underlying theme I'm hearing from all of you guys too is that transparency and honesty piece. And I think for me, at least, I wasn't being honest with myself for a long time. So how could I have been honest with anybody else, including Dylan? Right.
Right.
But I think
Right.
for me, and I think it's maybe similar, correct me if I'm wrong, but having the surgery just kind of pushed me to that point of being very brutally honest with myself and dealing, like what you were saying, Dusty, going back to childhood traumas, working through some of that or a lot of that. It's hard work. And but then when you're honest with yourself, it's like, oh, now I can be honest with other people. And
Right.
that's where it starts, though. It has to start with you, unfortunately.
And I think that's where people, there are a lot of people who do well with the surgery, and there are a lot of people who also fail on the surgery, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And I think, obviously we've all made that decision, and I've always said that that's what we need to celebrate, the fact that you've made the decision to change. But I think a big part of that is at some point, some of us have it at the very beginning before the surgery, some of us have it a year down the line or somewhere along our journey. You need to have that honest conversation with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And that is, I think, the big deciding factor in regards to not just our success in our journey, but our happiness moving forward, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I love seeing when people talk about having that conversation, especially with other people.
I think
Yeah.
the thought process in what got me or what got us to our top weight, that thought process, that tendency doesn't go away. The surgery does nothing about that. The
Mhm.
surgery is a tool, but oftentimes the pathway that we've built mentally will come into contact with a physical limitation from the surgery. And I think that's where a lot of the mourning came from for me. And what a lot of folks feel on the journey is that moment where there's a clash between this is how I process, this is how I do things, this is my habit, my ritual, and that led you to a point where like led me to 534 pounds, how I processed, coped, how I saw things. And all of a sudden now I've got to somehow become a completely different person, and that just doesn't happen with surgery. Yes, you're going to lose weight. It's absolutely going to position you immediately to do that, but at some point how you process, how you do whatever you do, it's just going to get your old weight back. That the regain is very, very real because there is just a reliance on the physical procedure versus the actual mental procedure that takes place. And I think that transparency, that ability to have the uncomfortable conversations, having a safe space with a person, whether it's therapy, whether it's a spouse, whether it's accountability partner, whatever it is vital, because there is very like the fact of where mine started. A lot of mine came from the divorce that my parents had when I was young. They divorced, and obviously there was something subconsciously that thought that I wasn't enough to keep them together, or that I was somehow lacking. And so in my lack, I reach out to something that provides a fill or a gap filler. And for me, food felt good. So when my parents weren't together and I wasn't happy about it, food felt good. And so now food feels good. The dopamine gets released on when I have the food. So how do I process and change that? And, having that uncomfortable conversation where, my own mother went on a transformation journey herself, but she watches my Instagram. She looks at it and sees it. And the fact that I root some of my initial issues with weight in that, it's uncomfortable. Like it's a uncomfortable conversation that kind
For
of
sure.
the environment that was provided for me didn't really help me prioritize my nutrition. And Rob, I love as far as setting the standard in your house, as far as what we eat, you eat. Love that. And that's something, it's a one day at a time. What we have very much dedicated, the nutrition side of Presley and our daughter and what she eats, and doing what we can to make the food here whole food based. A lot of those things that I didn't have and I didn't know, we try to institute, but it's just hopefully building a pathway, a habit for her that you've got to find value in what you're consuming. And it's not to say that you can't have pizza, you can't have those noodles, but you've got to find value in it to benefit you and not set you back. And that's tough. And 7 years, coming upon 7 years, and still processing. Like, I don't know how to deal with a potential complication with baby number 2. I don't know how to process that stress. I know how to process my stress in a work situation, a intimidating boss. I know how to work through that stress, but I don't know how to work through this. And so that's where it's like, well, I'm 7 years out and I haven't arrived, and I probably won't arrive, but I've got the mentality that if it comes, I'll figure it out. I got to find a way, because the other side of it was dark, and there's no way I'm going back to that. So
just jump on a call with Murph and I. Between 9 of us, we can sort of work through it together.
Yeah.
And that's what we call the baby giraffe syndrome. You know, we were talking last week about more of the physical, when you're like kind of learning your new body. We're learning our new minds, our new hearts too. And you know what? Sometimes we're kind of clunky like baby giraffes. So I think you own it, Dusty, and you're just baby giraffe in it like we all are. I love it.
Clunky. Yeah. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to probably use that a lot more. I'm clunky here. I'm having a clunky week.
Yeah. Jay, you used the word clunky like 3 times on last week. I'm like, that's your word, huh? Clunky?
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know. Clunky. Another one I'm trying to use is unhinged. That's like like the kids are saying these days. So throwing that out as a little bonus nugget for you guys to try to use that in a sentence.
That's so fetch.
You're so fetch. Bro.
Someone tried to get platinum in high school, and I'll never forget it. Like, yeah, someone's like, that is so gold, or that's gold, and like, you know what? I'm bringing in that's platinum, and
platinum.
Never worked, never happened, and that was 20 plus years ago. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, platinum, but I like clunky and unhinged. That sounds like deep. Serious. Like that sounds like
it's. I've heard it in the funniest like context, where it's like it's kind of when somebody does something just kind of crazy, and then you go, oh man, they're like unhinged. Like, what is going on? They're unhinged.
My daughter said that to me. I'd just be looking at her like
and honestly, I would describe when Rob did this, I became unhinged because I was like shocked by that.
My daughter would be like, wow, lol. I'm like, dude, you just said lull to me? Why don't you just laugh? Oh my God.
If my wife used that word, we have this running joke that if my wife uses new words that I've never heard before, I start looking at the ceiling and I start looking around because I feel like I'm on the Truman Show, and that she's like an actor. Like, are we? Guys, you're giving her new words that she's not supposed to have, so I can tell.
It's a new script.
What you're doing, and so it's always funny. Like that's a running joke that I truly feel that sometimes I'm on the Truman Show, and that there's is there multiple of you, honey? And like, did you learn new? Because I've never heard this. She used some word like calculated or something. I was like, calculated? Where in the world did you get who are you? And so I'll start looking, and I'm like, let me see your mole on your ankle. Okay, they put that back, and so the running joke. But so unhinged, it's a running joke because my wife will probably ask me, and she'll start looking at the ceiling at the cameras, like, oh, so you swapped them out, huh? Using the words unhinged. Got it. Okay, new one here.
I think that has to be a recording. Like, I think you need to do hidden camera action on that one and see what her response
that would
is.
Be a good one. Biggest 2023. That's what, like when so do you remember when like the whole Netflix and chill thing was big, and my friends, so I'm 39 now, right? I'm turning 40 next month, 2 months, whatever.
Me too. There we go.
Yes, and Murph is already 40.
I've been 40.
Old guy.
Been rocking 40 for a minute.
And so I remember when a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh, what do you want? What are you doing?" Or like, "Oh, we're just Netflixing and chilling." I'm like, that doesn't mean just watch Netflix, man. I'm like, you're old. Stop using these words. This is not fitting. And I'm just like, oh God. So yeah,
I'm watching Netflix and chilling with my kids.
I'm chilling, but I'm doing I'm literally don't do that. Don't say that.
First year of marriage was Netflix and pizza. Full transparency. My wife and I, first year we got married, it was the ideal night. We'd turn on Netflix. We each have a Little Caesars pizza by ourselves. Yes. We'd share breadsticks and a 2 liter of soda each. Yes. And just easy to go through that. Like that's probably 4,000 calories in 30 minutes. But Netflix and pizza was, that's how we started.
What's your new Netflix snack now? Is it the same thing?
Just kidding. That's a dangerous question.
We had Little Caesars for dinner, by the way.
Not
Still
sponsored,
love
but we're
one,
open.
one little slice. One little
We're
slice is all I can
open.
have. and
Listen,
that's it.
we're let's see, what is the
Netflix and
go-to? I will say
protein
it's
bars.
oftentimes at night, and so it'll be ice cream. So Halo Top is usually the go-to. Just recently found Nick's ice cream. Shout out to Nick's, sponsorships all around everyone on this
Yes.
podcast. You want to throw it out there? Just saying,
Yes.
because it's low calorie, it's really good. But yeah, so it's more or less ice cream now.
Oh, I'm all about
over
the
anything
Jamocha
else.
almond fudge. Sorry, guys.
Digging the
I
moose
just won't eat
tracks.
the whole tub. I won't
Gotta
eat
have
the
the moose
tub.
tracks.
I'll eat a little bit, but I feel like we can't go through an episode. At least Murph and I can't go through an episode with a guest without talking about like the food that we miss. Like it
Food,
often. Yeah.
food, or getting rid of food.
Yes.
Poop. We talk about poop
And
all the
poop.
time.
That's
Yeah.
been hey.
It's a must. It's a staple.
It's
Yeah.
a must in the bariatric podcast circle. You have to.
Yeah.
I have one question that I've been dying to ask Dusty, and then I don't know, Dusty, if you have time
Oh yeah,
for another question. I know we told you like an hour-ish, but
I was told 6 hours, and that if anything less, I mean, so I'm here for 6.
Perfect. We're good. We're golden.
all right. So I've got one more question, and then I wanted to give you an opportunity, Dusty, to share the program and things that you're doing moving forward. What's next for Dusty? My question is very simple, not as hard as Shay's really deep, thought-provoking questions. Dusty, you have been an inspiration, and this is not a word that this is a new word for me.
You're so unhinged, bro.
I'm unhinged right now. You have no idea. Lol. All right. So no, but inspiration, it's something that I've been hearing that I am to a lot of people lately, and I don't know how to receive it. But when I think of Dusty, when I see your videos, when I watch you, and having you here with us tonight, you really truly are an inspiration to me and this community and Rob and Shay, hands down. So Dusty, who is your inspiration? Where does your inspiration come from?
That is good. So as far as from a social media perspective, there's a couple of accounts that I started off early on with that was envious of. When I started my journey, they were already into the journey and had lost quite a bit of weights. And so one of them, Poro92, he's actually coming up to Nashville this weekend to a Redcon 1 gym. He's someone that I think was over 400 pounds, had lost a considerable amount of weight, and has been sharing his journey online as well. Well, he became a sponsored athlete with Redcon 1, and he's actually coming up. So I get to meet him face to face for the first time. But I'd say he was one that really stuck himself out. Jay Arp's journey was one of them that was early on. And these are early individuals that when I first started getting on Instagram, they were very inspirational for me. I am inspired in as far as in my surrounding, very much inspired by my wife, because it took a lot for her to set aside her desires. As far as my first year of surgery, I had a separate cabinet, a separate pantry, a separate door in the fridge where it was just foods that I could have versus, the rest of the house. And she really went out of her way to make it easier for me and supportive. And so kind of a real big support was my wife, and I would probably consider her above all else the person that really was one of the keys to success on my journey. Without her, I do not believe whatsoever that I would have been successful, because those moments of understanding that I'm mourning food and that I'm dying to myself a little bit, to have somebody right there to just encourage. Encouragement goes a long way. I've never heard anybody say, man, you encourage me too much. Like, stop encouraging. Like, encouragement goes a long way. And so for her, she always found a way to find the bright side out of the darkness that I was coming out of. And there was a song, and if I say this song, my wife will know what I'm talking about, but there's a song, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend. Like, my wife knew I was in a bad space whenever I would just start randomly singing that song, and she would just check in. you okay? What's going on? And that's I stopped singing that song probably about 2.5 years ago. So you're talking about 5 years into the journey where I'm, on Instagram and everything's going great. I'm in the middle of a really dark time. And so inspiration, I would say, definitely came from my wife. There's individuals on Instagram and currently individuals that I'm now recently connecting with, like all of you, to where I get inspired in different facets on how you've done what you've done and how you share what you share. And that's kind of me coming along the way of this journey years in now to see how that was presented. That's going to connect with so many people in ways that I never knew how to even create something like that. So definitely going to pivot to my wife for inspiration. That's you need support. Let me just say that you're going to need, yes, you can absolutely do it on your own, but you're going to need somebody. You're going to need support, because support is the key for success. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do you guys have any other questions for?
I'd like to share some of the comments.
Yeah.
First off, Corinne had said, "So amazing, Dusty. So life-changing and insightful." Awesome comments in regards to, when you were talking about some of the information and you sharing your different stories and sort of what people were relating to. Good old Robert Elliott Fuller, Dad.
That's my dad.
Stay true to humanity and the rewards will come.
I like it.
He always drops truth bombs like that.
He sure does. Stephanie says, "Happy anniversary, Shay."
Oh,
Dylan
thank you.
says, "Whoa. Do you know Joey Lawrence? Do you know him, Shay?"
Me? No.
Oh my God.
Heartthrob of the
Right?
90s. Was it the 90s?
Early 90s. You need
Oh,
to
wait.
know
Oh, Joey Lawrence. Of course I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
who he
yeah.
is. Sorry. It's
Boston.
just, I was living in our decade, and that's why I got confused. You
Just
guys were throwing me back. Yeah,
Hit a
he's
button,
cute.
Rob. Hit a button. Hit a button that yells at her.
Whoa. I'll just make our own sound effects now.
Yeah.
Well,
Buttons,
I'm just
buttons.
curious, Dusty, like, where can we find you? What do you have going on? I know Murph kind of started that question, but yeah, tell us like where we can find you and what you have going on and how we can be a part of it.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty much just sharing in the way that I try to balance my 9 to 5 with sharing on social media, which just recently, shout out to some of my work folks. I had a face-to-face leadership summit up in Connecticut, and some of them found my Instagram. So if you're hello, how are you? But it's interesting. I'll interact with them being on a Teams meeting, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you know what? You see me on Instagram, but I'm pretty much just exclusively on Instagram. I have tried YouTube. I have tried TikTok. I have tried a number of things, and in learning the balance of what can and cannot happen, it's too much for me to go and do a lot of these other channels, and so I strictly kind of stick to Instagram. And a lot of the connection that I have is through Instagram. I have a lot of items that I put out as far as a blog is concerned. So I've got a blog, but it's kind of just open thoughts. But I would say probably one of my passionate things is sharing wherever avenue I can that's as easy as possible. So like a podcast, my podcast is it's like 8 minutes long. Full transparency, and what it is I put my phone on my car vent, and I turn on the Anchor, I start my car, and I drive from the gym to my house, and I just talk about whatever in relation to the journey itself. And so that's been so the podcast, and then Instagram is pretty much where you can find me. So
awesome. And you are welcome anytime to jump on with us even if you just want to just talk about whatever. This was one of my favorite episodes, and hey, you got me to do this. I can't go again. There's only one per day.
Only when it's truly inspiring.
Only when it's truly, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that this has been amazing. And thank you, Dusty, for sharing your amazing journey and all of your experience with us at the table.
I would love to be back. This was fantastic. This was fun.
Oh.
And you honestly, perfect timing because we know that the bedtime was perfectly done as far as I was able to put Presley to bed and do what I needed to do, and then right here into a nice soft landing with the podcast. So if you would have me back in the future, I would love to be back. I think this is awesome, and the community that you've built is very inspiring and is motivating for myself. So looking forward to coming back on whenever you'll have me.
Anytime. Can you hit us with one of these, Dusty?
That's all.
It's.
I love it.
that
I like
square?
I like your bear.
Put the thumbs
I
down.
like that.
Put the thumbs down.
This is, if we
It's a heart.
if we do this, this is my town, or well, Eugene. This is for Oregon.
Oh, damn.
For those of you watching or for those of you listening on Spotify, we're trying to make hearts with our hands.
Yes. There you go.
Hand hearts.
Apple Podcast.
Mine's a square. I'm
iTunes.
sorry. This is
Yours is like a
square.
bear claw. I liked the bear claw.
I like the bear claw. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's good.
No, I'll do the Batman from here on out. So.
There you go. I love it.
That's a good one. Next time you're on, that's going to be our next one.
That's,
We'll all be
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, that'd be good
It's
stuff.
a pleasure. It's a pleasure meeting with you, man. Gosh, that was a fantastic
Yeah.
episode. We absolutely love having you, and you are most definitely welcome back
Awesome.
for an episode 2, 3, 4, 5, and anytime you want.
Awesome.
You are definitely family. Thanks for pulling up a chair at the table with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's all the time that we've got for tonight, guys. Thanks so much for all of you guys for joining us at the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community
1 pound at a time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
See ya.
This is the dance off.
Ooh, look at that one. Dusty's
Oh,
got
snap.
it. There you go. This guy used to do
Bogan.
some work.
Voguing.